So there I was, 4th of July, 2024. It was the day of, and I didn't have a solid plan for what I was going to do for the fireworks. I had an idea. I wanted to go to the top of the mountain and see the whole valley light up with fireworks. And I had found a spot that I really liked, but a lot of the friends who I talked to were out of town or were busy, so I didn't get any interest in that. In addition, I had a potential COVID exposure, so I wasn't sure if I was contagious, if I was going to start showing symptoms. So I figured it might be best to lay low and not have too many people around. I decided, you know what, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go to the top of this mountain and see what I can get. And the spot that I had picked out was a golf course, and I was going to try to get up to the middle of the golf course. I drove up, and the gate was blocked off with a line of cars and somebody talking to the cars, waving them in other directions. So I realized that was not going to be an option, turned around and started going home. And I was like, you know what? Let's see what happens. I still wanted to view it. I didn't want to just go home and miss the fireworks. So I did plan B. I parked nearby at a hiking trailhead. So I drive into the trailhead and there's a few signs, and one of the signs that catches my eye says, "Gate opens by 8 a.m." I didn't see a sign that says, park closes at dusk or anything like that, but there was a sign that says the gate opens by 8 a.m. I get in, and the trailhead is empty. There's not a single car there. And this is right around 9 o'clock. So I decide, you know what, I'm going to go for it. I park, grab my stuff, and head out into the woods for just over a mile hike to get up to the golf course. And I had seen on the map that there were some hiking trails which connected to the golf course, so I should be able to get up easily. The fact that I was going through the woods meant that I didn't end up going past the gate, which was good. Um, so I kind of came around the outskirts of the uh, through the woods, and I come up to the golf course, and I start walking up, and I stop, and I take a few steps back, and I read the sign that I had just passed. Key words on that sign included private property and prohibited. So I kept going. All right, so I figure I can pretend that I missed the sign if I really need to. As I'm going up through this golf course, there's these massive water sprinklers, these water jets. So, so the design is there's two 30 feet long jets of water, 180 degrees from each other, and very, very slowly rotating. And I'm sitting there like, do I really want to wait a few minutes for this to rotate? I'm like, wait a minute, I can just step over the hub because the water is coming out and I can go right over the top. So I do that instead. I get up near the middle of the golf course, or rather, I'm skirting around the golf course. I pass near the maintenance yard. I'm being careful not to be too visible from the primary building, the clubhouse, because I don't know how enforcing how strict they are about not having people up there and whatnot. Um, but I find there's this one trail that leads you right into the center of the golf course where I want to be without being inside of the clubhouse because it's right after this hill. On the way up, I see a few groups, which makes me feel a lot better, realizing that I'm not the only person trying to get up here. So I get up to basically the perfect spot. There's this beautiful overlook into the mountain, or into the valley rather, and there's this group standing right there, group of four people. And I didn't want to, come across as the security or anything. So I made a quip, I'm like, oh, it looks like you guys found the perfect spot. So I set up nearby and it's like 9:30 and there's this beautiful sunset going on right now. I start chatting with the group nearby, and we kind of hit it off. We start talking about, oh, what brought us to this area, to Washington. I'm like, oh yeah, I came up for work. I'm at Blue Origin. And one of the guys is like, oh cool, I'm also at Blue Origin. And I'm like, great, I'm on the lunar team. He's like, oh, I'm also on the lunar team. So he works on the avionics system as an ME. And I'm like, oh cool, I'm a systems engineer. I work with the avionics people. And we realized that we had one of our friends in common, so we were 2 degrees of separation, which was really cool. Um, so we're up there, and they were very gracious and offered me both bug spray and water, both of which were things that I desperately needed and had completely overlooked. We also got some pictures for each other with the beautiful sunset and the fireworks. So mostly we just chatted and watched the fireworks. From there, we could see the major fireworks shows going on in Bellevue, in Seattle, and in SeaTac. But looking out through Renton and the other towns in the area, there were a lot of fireworks being lit off that were not town shows, that were not large shows. So I mean, my estimate was probably more than 30 unique locations where fireworks were being launched from, which was really cool. We also got to see the stars. It was perfectly clear, and we could see some satellites. One of the people in the group I was talking with recognized the Seattle Astronomical Society, and so we got to talk about the stars, and he was really good at finding the satellites. Um, so it was really cool. We sat up there for a while. I sat a bit longer than a lot of people cleared out. So it was around 11. I started to head home, and I just walked home in the dark because there was enough light just from the stars to navigate. And I could hear the booms from the fireworks continuing as I returned. I get down to the forest, and I realized I probably should grab a light for the forest. And I looked through my backpack. I got a headlamp and a flashlight. Perfect. And I'm starting to worry a bit about getting home because I don't know if they've locked the gate or something. But I'm going in through the forest, and I remember there's a good reason why the mountain is called Cougar Mountain. So I'm in the woods. I'm by myself on Cougar Mountain. I'm like, this might be a little bit sketch. So I just was very cautious about making sure I did sweeps to look around and see if there were eyes in the darkness looking at me. So I get down to my car. It's still the only car in the parking lot, but it's been completely untouched, which was good. Um, so I pack up my stuff and I start to drive out. And I drive up to the gate, and the gate is wide open, not a problem. And I drive home.